Thanks for showing up and listening to Ways to Love Your Money. I'm your host, Elisabeth Dawson. Again, I have a wonderful guest for us to talk with today, and we're going to have a great conversation for you all to listen to and relate to, and really just know that we have a human element to us, but it's all about our goals, dreams, and desires for the future and how fast we want to achieve them. So your discipline today will pay off for what you can have either in a shorter period of time or, gosh, if you want to extend it, that's your choice. But wouldn't you like to have the options that you could retire at a young age? One of the powerful pieces, and this is really why the show even is in existence, is we want to help and speak and talk and educate as many people as we possibly can. So I have a very ambitious guest that in the next 11 years, he wants to retire. He'll be very young, but it's exciting to kind of see. So I want to introduce you to my dear friend, Dylan Welch. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, good. I really want people to understand a little bit about who you are. You have an ambitious, agenda for your future, and I think that you have a lot that you can share with people that are just as motivated as you are. Tell me a little bit about you.
It's probably a little bit overly ambitious, but about me, I'm a producer here at Ignite Now Media, and I've been working with you on this show as well as producing television shows, different media content. So I'm always kind of behind the camera. It's exciting to be in front of the camera for the first time.
So are you kind of starting to like this side?
Yeah, I don't mind. It's fun. It's a little bit more exciting, a little bit more on the spot. You got to think on your feet, but yeah, I don't mind. It's fun.
Yes, well, I think it's great. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the productions that you've been involved in, where you started with your career at this point, and really what brought you to San Diego, which is exciting. That's a great story.
Yeah, so I've always seen the power of media, just its ability to reach a lot of people, connect a lot of people. It's always a path that I wanted to go down, one, because there's a potential to make a lot of money in the industry, as well as you can use it for a positive way to give back to people depending on the content you produce. I want to produce, helpful, good content, not really trying to go down the reality TV show route, which I've been lucky enough to avoid. And I moved out to San Diego about 4 years ago after living in Italy, doing some traveling for about 2 years. I worked as a producer for another media company. I took my knowledge that I gained at that company and launched my own business, which I ran for about 2 years before working at Ignite Now Media. And now
So what did you do with that business? Is it still kind of there, or is it something that's been sold, or what did you do?
Well, it's actually pretty tough, and it's something that I had to put a lot of thought into. But basically, I had to decide: do I want to continue running my business, which provides a lot of freedom? You can pick what clients you work with. You can set your own hours.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, exactly. But also at the same time, when you're starting a business, paychecks come few and far between.
Sure.
Sometimes I'll have a really good month. Other times, you're waiting for to get paid. Versus getting a job offer at Ignite Now Media, which was less control of what I'm working on, but steady paycheck. And ultimately, it was a really tough decision, especially being here in San Diego. It's kind of nice to be able to walk to the a coffee shop and work right by the beach.
Sure.
But
well, and home life for you before was in Albany, New York.
Yes.
So the difference of how cold it is there right now versus here, which we're expecting a little bit of rain, but nothing in comparison, right?
Exactly. Well, I moved to San Diego to be out in the sun, on the beach, and surfing and all that good stuff. So that also played a big part in it as well. Do I want to be I don't want to say cooped up inside all day, because that's not giving a good name to the job that I have. But at the same time, it was a sacrifice of being able to put everything down at noon if I wanted to and go to the beach versus taking on a more 9 to 5.
I know a few people that like to do that. They like to go surf before they go to work.
Yeah.
What a great piece of freedom that can bring to somebody, right?
Exactly. And luckily, San Diego is a great city to live in, just because, there is a very good balance of work and life.
Sure.
Not just in the media industry here, but I've noticed in kind of all industries, people really appreciate that lifestyle.
Well, if we can kind of fast forward to the idea of that you want to have your own business again, you're gonna to have the confidence that from paycheck to paycheck or how the money kind of flows in, that you can feel it, you can map that out. But you have some big goals about that. Tell me a little bit about what kind of business you want to have and what kind of an impact you want to make.
Well, and I'll tie this back into your book that I finished, and really good, a lot of helpful information. when I was working at the media company at first, I had a decision to make where it was, do I want to keep working here,
Okay.
Accumulating wealth, saving money,
Sure.
or do I want to go out, launch my own company? And I basically decided to do it all myself. So I took savings that I had, invested it into my own personal business.
Sure.
Which is kind of scary, Not only are you, one, giving up a steady paycheck, two, you're taking money that you've saved and spending it hopefully wisely, making good business decisions on yourself, and then you never know how it's going to come out. Obviously, you want to make smart decisions.
Right.
And that, ultimately, I really enjoyed and appreciated that experience. And it's something that I want to go back to. I think there's a difference of running your own business versus working for a business. And I think, mentorship is a huge thing where,
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
working for a business, there's people that you're working with who can teach you things.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I've picked up here at Ignite is,
great.
educating myself about not just the media world, but the business of it. And eventually I want to potentially take that, knowledge and apply it somewhere else and, be my own boss, be an entrepreneur, run my own business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there's a great, momentum that's going to go in that direction for you. And I know your background, so many different connections even with the social media world and just really where, let's say, media and everything else is going forward because it's not just about cable anymore. We were talking about that earlier today. Cable is pretty much dying. It's a dying, medium. And radio is kind of dying as well, but there's still people that are holding on to it. This is something where it's interesting. When we had lunch earlier today, and we talked to the gentleman of the bank, the president of the bank, and we were talking to them, and he even said that, well, three of his four children don't have, cable or anything like that. They just have internet, and they're just watching and streaming, content, movies, Netflix, whatever it might be. And I think it's fascinating because even when I finally pulled the plug to say, I'm not going to do this, it was the scariest thing in the world for me because I'm so not technically inclined. And when I did it, and I started listening to, just how I could actually navigate through the TV, almost like your phone, I could watch what I wanted to watch when I wanted to watch it, and that creates freedom. And I think even with, let's say, the media front for what you're trying to accomplish too, you're going to be able to advance with that as it progresses. Even thinking of 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 years from now, it's going to look completely different than it does today.
Exactly. The the media world is always changing, and that's kind of why I wanted to get into this industry in the first place, because with an industry that's always changing, it's as long as you're smart and you navigate correctly, it's easier to get to the top versus a stagnant industry where you have to slowly build your way up. That kind of foresight combined with the knowledge that I believe 1 out of every 100 business owners are millionaires is kind of a combination of why I'm in this industry and why I want to run my own business.
Okay,
someday.
so that takes us to another piece.
Yes.
Because you have a really ambitious goal about wanting to retire by the time you're 40. And so that's a very ambitious time point. And, what are you willing to do to make that happen? What are you willing to do to sacrifice, if you will? I know you mentioned that you read my book, Wealth by Design, which is great. That's really why we're doing the show. It's gotten a lot of attention, but it spoke to you in a specific way. So tell me a little bit about what you're thinking about doing about helping you accelerate so you can get to that goal of retiring at 40.
Right. Well, it's definitely an ambitious goal.
Yes.
I think it's better to set more ambitious goals, and if I hit it when I'm 45, it's better than never retiring at all. So that's kind of my mindset behind that. One thing that I really picked up and I'm trying to work towards is a couple things I learned in your book.
Okay.
One is just being more mindful of where I'm spending money, how it gets, allocated, because you always grow up hearing, oh, if you buy one coffee a day, it adds up and it's this much money, which is kind of, a no-brainer. Everybody hears that. But what I picked up from your book.
It's about when you do it.
Exactly.
It's when you actually do it, yeah.
Exactly. It's one, being knowledgeable and kind of having that mindset every time you swipe your card or pay money.
Yes.
But two, going a step further is saving that money and then investing it somewhere else.
Yes.
So not only are you saving that money, it's not just sitting in your account, it's actually going to be making you money. So that's one thing that I'm trying to actively be more working on to get there.
Well, and the pieces that we talk about in the book are just a couple of examples. Years ago when, not to really talk about mortgages, but I'm going to talk about them for a second, but years ago when interest rates were so low and people were going in and refinancing, and they're saying, well, I'm going to save so much money on on my payment every month. I go, okay, well, where is it? And when they would look at me and talk to me and they'd say, what do you mean, where is it? I go, well, where is that $1,000 a month that you're going to save from refinancing? Well, if you're not saving it and it's just being absorbed in lifestyle, that's not the answer. So you made a huge point, which that's the point I wanted to really drive home with the book, is that when we find the money, when you actually identify the dollars that aren't going out to pay for a car payment anymore, or maybe you finished the vacation goal that you had, or maybe it's down payments for a house and maybe you already got the house. Don't stop saving. Don't stop saving. Keep saving, because your ambitious goals of wanting to retire at age 40, they can happen. It's the discipline and making sure that that money can work for you long term. And going into the right investments. I know you mentioned that you read something else in the book too that you liked, and it was about investing in yourself. So tell me how you felt about that.
I think that's probably the most important thing you really can do, whether that's investing some money into a business or whether that's investing it into more education about yourself.
Okay.
One thing that I've learned from producing your podcast and your video series is it's the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
Yes.
And
that's no disrespect to anyone. It's just that I always say there's a professional for everything, but we all need to seek out professional advice, even though we think we know how to do it all ourselves.
Exactly. And it's just almost a slap in the face to myself, which I like those kind of wake-up calls.
Yeah.
I don't mind them at all, because it's easy to get lazy and say, oh, I know how to save my money and I know how to do this, when really you don't. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, at least, and I've learned so much, and then the more I've learned, the more it opens up this rabbit hole of, okay, I can save even more by doing this and this and this.
Yeah.
And it kind of grows at an exponential rate. So
Well, just think about you getting that knowledge and education now as a millennial is so powerful, because your goal of wanting to retire at 40, it can happen. And when I'm actually doing retirement planning with people, when they're, oh, I retired yesterday. Oh, well, it's kind of a little late. We call it late stage retirement planning. We used to call it late stage college planning when someone didn't have any college finances set up, but they go into, applying for colleges and wanting to go to colleges, and maybe there's not enough money to pay for it. They have to finance it. But it's not just about that piece. You can't finance retirement, right? You can't do that. You have to make sure you have the money's working for you now in the longest part of your time. So if you retire at 40, or let's say when you retire at 40, you could have a 60+ year retirement in your future. Well, the biggest thing that we have to be concerned about is making sure we have enough income coming in every single month for you to accomplish your goals, your dreams, your wants, your desires.
Right.
And so when you have that focus and that passion on it right now, anything is possible. Anything is possible. So
Exactly.
it's being mindful of it. I'm so glad that you shared that, because it doesn't matter how young you are. Even if you're 10 years old and you want to have a different kind of focus on how you're doing things, it's just getting the simplicity. That's why I mean, that's my passion behind the book, Wealth by Design, because you can read it in an hour or less. You just have to finally, when you read it, you go, oh, now I have this epiphany. Wow, it sounds great. I want that. But it's a tool. Everything is a tool. Just like every investment that you use, whether it's real estate, whether it's 401k, whether it's a CD in a bank, they're all tools. And it's how they all kind of work together to help you accomplish your goals and your dreams.
Exactly.
So one of the things that you mentioned to me, and I'm going to kind of rewind a minute, you said you lived in Italy for 2 years.
Yes.
So what was that experience all about? Did you do school abroad, or what did you do?
Yeah, so I studied abroad when I was a senior in college.
Okay.
Before I even got out there, I reached out to a bunch of different companies and basically said, hey, I'm a videographer, I know media marketing, is there any way I can basically travel with your company, work for your company, basically make some, side money while I'm out there, because I would have just been spending savings.
Sure.
So this company that I met while I was out there brought me on as a video marketing intern. So I went on, and they're a travel company, so I went on a bunch of trips with them. I brought my camera, I made some videos for them, did some marketing for them. And then before I even graduated, they contacted me and said, once you do graduate, you want to come and work for us full time.
So you kind of were assertive in getting your internship, which maybe wasn't an internship, but it turned into a regular paying job.
Yeah, actually, it was less of them contacting me, asking if I wanted to work there, and more me saying, when I graduate, I'm coming out and working for you, and not really taking no as an answer. And then, so that was pretty nice. Graduating college, having a job set up, one, knowing I was going to get paid and all that stuff, and on top of that, being able to do something that I really wanted to do and I thought was really fun at the time, which I still do, travel.
Good.
So yeah, as soon as I graduated, flew out to Italy, and I helped with this company's marketing, video production, and then got to travel all over Europe with them.
That's pretty incredible.
And then
So where was your primary location when you were in Italy?
So we were based in Florence, Italy, which is like my all-time
Beautiful.
favorite place.
Very beautiful.
I also did about 8 months living in Rome, which is also amazing.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Totally different cities, and then every weekend we would travel, and then during the week we would do like admin, sales, business.
So why didn't you
stuff.
stay?
Well, actually, it was.
I think I might have stayed.
I know. Well, it was while I was there that I kind of had my epiphany of what I wanted to do next, which was live in San Diego and work in the media world, which actually I wanted to. I was in Italy when I figured out I wanted to run my own business, but I wanted to move out to San Diego with a company so that I knew I could at least get settled here and have a job and make ends meet to kind of get a base going on.
So now you've been here for 4 years.
Yeah.
Life is good.
Yeah.
So what are some of your other life goals that are happening right now that you're thinking about giving some timelines on or something like that?
Well, I mean, working here at Ignite, it's definitely opened up just a lot more kind of ideas. Another show we produce is The American Dream, which has taught me a lot about real estate, business. So I definitely want to start, now that I have a steady job and I'm not, waiting for that next big project to come in, I'm trying to save up and eventually, start investing that money, whether it's real estate, stock market, and things like that. And that's where getting educated from you is going to really come in handy.
Well, good. I'm glad. Now, for someone in their late 20s going into their 30s, what would you suggest to people to do? What would you tell them as their call to action? I mean, procrastinating and waiting for someone else to do it for them, it's probably not going to happen.
Well, that's tough because I don't know if that's the best idea. You'll probably disagree.
Okay.
I mean, one, definitely, take certain calculated risks. I think for me personally, leaving my old company to start my own business was a pretty big risk, but it paid off for me, I think. Especially financially, it was a major risk versus just kind of staying at that job.
Sure.
Two, everyone says, pay attention to that cup of coffee, but I think just keeping, in mind that not only will you be saving that money, but you can use that money to, invest and grow.
Right.
That helps. And then one thing I wish I thought about way earlier, which I'm glad I'm thinking about it now, is just something I also picked up in your book, is just sort of plan for a retirement, whatever that plan is. For me, it was a lot of just save as much money as you can, try not to spend as much, and having kind of a further down the line set goal actually gives me more sort of checkpoints and things to hit to get there.
Well, and it's great that you say that because it's, even if you're starting, if it's $5 a week or something like this, it's something. If you really want to have a dollar goal to get to, and you know what that dollar is, so it can produce, 5,000 a week, 10,000 a week, or, a month or whatever, because we have to think about how much is money going to be valued at when you get to retirement in, let's say, 11 years, okay? So in 11, and it's kind of strange to talk to someone that's 29 years of age saying I'm going to retire at 40 and going, okay, I'm going to have a 60+ year retirement to live, but we don't know what the value of money is going to be because inflation is going to have a big factor on that. So we do it like a net calculation for people so they can actually see what happens based on the rate of return, based on taxes, and based on inflation being subtracted from that. If the value of their dollar is going down by, let's say, 6% a year, or 2% or 4%, well, we have to make that dollar higher because you're going to need more money to have more buying power when you get there, right? Sometimes people, when they retire and they'll talk to me and say, well, if something doesn't work out, I'll just go back to work. Well, at one point in your future, you can't go back to work. But I love that you have an entrepreneurial spirit. That's really is the backbone of the United States. We're a capitalism, culture, and it's great because yes, taking calculated risk, and I had to do those too in my career. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't take calculated risks. And as a woman, it's probably a little bit more difficult, and especially I was, a mom of 2 children and the head of the household financially, and it wasn't always easy. But taking that leap, it's kind of like I don't know anything else that I want to do. This is my passion. This is what I do. This is what I give back, and it'll be successful because there's no other option to fail. So if you have that mindset for yourself and you have great mentors in your life, and mentors of maybe even all different types of sectors, not just in the media world, that becomes bigger empowerment for your future. It really does, and it'll help your successes even better. But having really good professionals, really great mentors, really great tools, resources, accountants, attorneys, whatever you might be. No dream is too small to consider to make it big. Exactly. And I think it's incredible that you've kind of shared that story, because it gives me hope for the future of our youth of the future, that they want to do even more. And I'm old enough to be your mom, so it's kind of like I'm looking at my son here, or my let's say my nephew. Let's call you my nephew. But that to me is a very exciting ambition for your future, and it is about investing in yourself. And even when you start a business, it is about investing in yourself in the business, because you're the business. There's so much more. I mean, there's probably hours and hours worth of advice that I'd love to share with you, but I'm so glad that you shared your perspective with us. It's so powerful, because I think any listener out there would really enjoy listening to what we just had to talk about. But it's about real life, setting goals, giving yourself specific timelines, and giving them deadlines, so that, hey, if I don't make it by then, I'm going to work that much harder for it. But don't delay. I have a 26-year-old daughter, and she's making life happen. She's adulting right now, if you will, and she's learning that it's not so easy.
It's tough.
It's not so easy, and you got to go out there and you got to make it happen. If you want those, if you want to own a piece of property, if you want to own multiple pieces of property, if you want to invest in a 401k or invest in other taxable accounts out there, stocks, even just put money in a safe account in a CD. It doesn't matter. You just have to start somewhere. Make more money for you for your future. Grow it. We talk about grow, but one day it's going to have to go, and we have to make sure we make as much of that money as we possibly can. Again, I've never met anyone that likes to lose money. So along the way, we just have to mitigate our risk to get there, so that you can have good, consistent returns to make sure that retirement goal can happen. Thank you for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes. So, thanks for listening to our show today, Ways to Love Your Money. It's truly about the respect for money that we've been so blessed to receive. How are we going to make the right decisions and do the right call to actions for our own personal lives? I'm so inspired by the fact that, Dylan has shared his story, and, being 29 years of age, and I'm hoping he doesn't mind me, saying that he's got his act together. And maybe you're out there listening and you don't quite have your act together, or maybe you're someone that is getting close to retirement and you're thinking, gosh, I want my child to listen to this. I just taught a retirement class, a Retirement 101 class last night, and I had two ladies there saying, I want to have all my kids come through this class. There's no better time to start than the present. Don't think you can wait, because you have so many years between now and retirement to get retired. If you want to retire early and be very ambitious and want to retire at age 40, there's a lot of other things to think about, but gosh, if we can get the financial part down, we are set. And then we have the choices to say, I have enough money to retire in the lifestyle that I want to retire in, but if I want to continue to work, it's a choice. And that to me is the key. That's the key element. So if you want that help in doing an analysis about how it'll take you and the amount of money that you need to save and assets you need to create so you can retire at 40 or 45 or 50 or 55 or 60, or gosh, you're thinking that you can't ever retire, it's time to take action so that you can actually have that information in front of you, and you can do the work backwards so you know how to really fit the dollars and cents into it. It's not just about saving that coffee trip to Starbucks, and I have nothing against Starbucks because I love them myself, but it's about looking at the things that are unnecessary expenses. It could be fees that you're paying at a bank. It could be fees if you're using a credit card. Credit card life is not something that I prescribe to. I don't prescribe any one of you to listen to it either or implement it in your life. If you don't have money today, don't use money from next month that you have to pay back at the next paycheck. Use the money you've got today. There's so many gimmicks out there with points and things of this nature, but most of those things have a big cost to them or a fee, and those fees are dollars that you can take back and invest in your best investment. Again, remember this. What is your best investment? I'm going to encourage you, if you want to call in and get a copy of the book, we'll get you a copy of the book, which is Wealth by Design. They will teach you in that book that I wrote what your number one asset is. You deserve to invest in your number one asset, and your number one investment is you. So without further ado, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure having Dylan on our show today. Again, if you have questions, please give us a call at 619-640-2622. And we would love to, answer any of your questions, get an analysis done, so how you can actually, be on the forefront of wanting to retire sooner than later. And, maybe you're already there and you're saying, gosh, I need to fix some things because I'm hearing some things that are really interesting. So if you even want to just send us a question, you can send them to questions@Elisabeth.Dawson.com. There's all kinds of information there too. You can go there and click on the book yourself and you can get a copy of that. So again, it's been an honor. It's been an honor for you to listen. And again, I hope you stay tuned for more shows to come. The information provided in this show is for informational and educational purposes only. This show is not investment advice, nor is it intended to address the financial needs of any particular viewer. The opinions expressed on this show are not intended to be an endorsement of any particular investment, strategy of service, or any other kind. You must make an independent decision regarding investments or strategies mentioned throughout the show. Before acting on information in the show, you should consider whether it is suitable for your particular situation and strongly consider seeking advice from a financial advisor.